of our country. So today I want to reassure the British people that no matter how fierce this storm, we are well placed to weather it, and that we have a long-term plan to emerge from it.
All right, mods, if you want to jump over there, I could use like one or two of you in shorts chat. We got a short stream going on. It just started. I have put it in slow mode to make it slightly easy to prevent anybody from, like, I don't know, saying the N-word with like in return that the N-word towers. I love that there's a name for them, but yeah, N-word towers, I guess, is what they are called. So if you need any more help than that, if it gets rough for you, let me know. I'll be able to read both chats at the same time, so you can just chat it into first of all, let me just like check with chat and make sure we do have, 101 votes. Damn. So people are, there's people here. They're interested in the bonus content. I don't know if they're going to get, I don't know if they realize the bonus content. Like, I don't know. You can press E3 on a vending machine as much as you want, chat. But the Snickers bar in E3 is not going to come down unless you put money in the vending machine. I get that, like, not everyone has money, including me. I can relate to that, but yeah, we're at 15 out of 100 right now. We're 85 points away from getting bonus content. I will still give you bonus content if we hit that goal today. Sorry for the rough start of the stream. Let me check really quick. Wait, why is it not showing me? Oh, it's like asking me. Oh no, that's not good. Okay, that version of the chat. Wait, what am I looking? Multi-chat is what I should have clicked on. Okay, there we go. I want to look. So first of all, do we have, okay, Morabear is a Twitch mod. I see Twitch mods. I see BCAT K, but I don't see any other mods, and I definitely don't want to take our only mod away from YouTube. Do we have other mods in YouTube right now? And also, I don't want to make, amongst the mods, like if whoever does not want to go over to Shorts chat, like maybe you could work that out to make sure that the people that end up in short chat are not people that really don't want to deal with that shit right now, because I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot to deal with. But yeah, I will make more mods if I need to. Wait, Toriyama would hate you for, what did he say? Something about like the Kamehameha? Yeah, did he mean the fusion dance? When, like, the Kamehameha is the thing that you like blast people. It's like the energy ray or whatever. The fusion dance or whatever is like the thing where they go like that and they fuse. Is that what Hassan meant? Okay, I'm gonna have to ask the Discord. Oh, and chat, we're gonna be having Vadim on soon to talk about what is going on in the Destiny sphere, because I don't entirely understand. There's a lot going on in the Destiny sphere. All right, what am I looking for? Mod chat. They did just Kamehameha at each other. It was gross. Okay, I was setting up the short stream, but there we go. Short stream is running. I put out a call for help in the Discord. Hopefully we can bring a couple more mods in. If not, I will make some of you mods. If you wanna go over there and deal with the freaks over in Shorts chat. No offense to anyone in Shorts chat who is not a freak, but we're just trying to deal with divvy up the duties of the mods. Let's get ready. Okay, so we're this is Hassan. Wait, actually, oh my gosh. Not an ideal. Oh no, you can see it okay. You can see it sort of okay. We're watching Hassan's coverage of the Iran conflict today in the run-up to the Trump speech before jumping into the Trump speech itself. So we're going to run a little bit more of this, and then I'm going to drop you right into the deep end with our president, chat, the leader of the free world, the man that is currently destroying the American empire, the once proud American empire. The guy that got excited about bombing Venezuela, killing random fishermen in the Caribbean, and it's now like, hey, I could maybe I could take out Iran too. And Bibi's like, yeah, buddy, you're probably like the only one that could do it. All the other presidents, I asked Obama, he couldn't do it. I asked Bush, he couldn't do it. Nobody else wanted to do it for some reason, but you're the kind of guy, you look like you could do it. And he's like, yeah, I am the kind of guy that can handle it. And he's gotten his ass handed to him in so many different ways. We'll probably go over that after watching the Donald Trump speech today from the American military equipment that has been destroyed. And I'm talking about radars, right? The things that the American military uses to look and see what's out there. Look and see where where the enemy is. The radars, chat, whether they are the radars for the bases, the radars for the AWACS, the radars have taken a fucking beating, right? Iran's, missiles and drones have gotten through a lot more than, anybody wants to admit. Israel's gotten fucked up a lot more than anyone wants to admit. They're currently overextending themselves into Lebanon, which has always been a disaster for Israel. So we'll look and see what the outcome. They've gotten even more, ambitious in Lebanon, in southern Lebanon as well, taking up more terrain, which it's just going to overextend the already close to broken IDF. So shit's not going well, but Trump is still going to try to sell it to you as like, well, we did a lot of bombing, we killed the Ayatollah, the 86-year-old dude that wasn't even hiding, the man that you killed with his family, that guy, yeah, cool. The guy that didn't want nukes, yeah, that's who we killed. We killed it, and we got his son in there who's like, I don't know, maybe my dad had a bad idea in not wanting nukes, right? Maybe that was a mistake, right? You look at over in North Korea, they've got nukes, nobody's fucking with them, and right now, the lesson that the United States is teaching Iran, the lesson that the United States and Israel are teaching Iran is you should have nukes, right? Even if you just wanted the nuclear fuel to, to power your country. No, you're wrong. You gotta have nukes, or else you're gonna deal with this, and with this fucking disastrous war, it's basically handed control of the Strait of Hormuz. And chat, just think of this right now. At the moment, Iran controls 1/3 of the world's oil supply, right? What I see on the horizon is a new world power in the Middle East, and I know Israel thought it was going to be them. But it's not going to be them. It's looking like, chat, it's going to be Iran. And who gave this to Iran? It's Trump. It's the fantabulous moron in the White House who we're just about to see give a speech both declaring victory, expressing frustration. No one will help him in the strait. If you want the oil, go get it yourself. We won, but we still are going to unleash hell on them. He doesn't know whether he's coming or going. In chat at this point, if you listen to even Alex Jones is now noticing Trump's immense cankles and saying this guy's going to die of congestive heart failure like pretty fucking soon. So yeah, he may be just he may be leaving us in more than just a mental way on the near horizon. But yeah, let's finish this Hassan clip up, and then I'll dump you into the Trump speech, and we'll do a little analysis after that, just kind of looking at, what people are saying about the situation that Donald Trump has managed to put the United States into, and the world-changing ramifications that it has.
A stronger, a more secure nation.
Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the UK, if you don't know.
This is not our war. We will not be drawn into the conflict.
By the way, this has greatly improved Keir Starmer's approvals in England, by the way, in the UK, because any sort of any sort of aesthetic decoupling from America yields tremendous positive approvals for any middle power, any government that's in charge of a middle power. Mark Carney already did this. Is the Mark Carney method, right? And Keir Starmer, it looks like he has a spine now. Okay. Now, of course, this once again gives people on our side a unique opportunity to demand far more, because as the permission structure expands, right, there is a larger window of opportunity to make more aggressive demands. Kid Starver comes out and says, oh, this is not our war. Great. Now the Greens can turn around and say, okay, are you going to punish Israel? Are you going to demand accountability from Israel and America? We will. All of a sudden, you can actually move in a more productive manner. The same principle holds for what I was talking about with AOC saying, I make no distinction between offensive and defensive weapons any longer. No more aid to Israel. No more weapons transfers to Israel because they're violating international law and American laws. When AOC says that, that becomes the new litmus test for every single other progressive hopeful, right? And now we can demand.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. You did have, progressives saying that they didn't want to send offensive weapons into Israel. They didn't want to arm Israel with things that it could use to attack other nations after, those weapons were used to conduct a genocide in Gaza. But you didn't have them questioning the Iron Dome, for instance, right? The Iron Dome is a one of the missile defense systems that is in place in Israel. And, while she's still saying, well, it saved tons of civilians, and that's why I supported it in the first place. Israel is a big country. They've got a $45 billion military budget. They can afford to take care of their own Iron Dome. And that's a step forward, right? That's AOC, right? Who's a lot of right wingers will, think that AOC is the most left wing person imaginable. And she was kind of holding the line on aid to Israel up until now, when it came to that could be classified as defense. And as of course, the defensive aid to Israel just enables Israel's, offense, just enables, stuff like what they're doing in, in Iran and in Lebanon right now. So, it's hard to make that distinction and say we support the defensive but not the offensive. Seeing Israel as a victim, seeing Israel as honestly anything other than a bully in the region is ridiculous at that point. So at this point, that's what he's talking about in terms of AOC. In the interest of time, chat, I'm going to take us to the address that happened earlier this weekend by, the leader of the free world, Donald J. Trump. Here he is, folks. I think. Here he is, yeah. Here comes the Trump. This might be one of the last times we see him. I get, enjoy him while he lasts, right? He's fading fast.
Thank you very much. My fellow Americans, good evening. Let me begin by congratulating the team at NASA and our brave astronauts on the successful launch of Artemis II. It was quite something. It will be traveling further than any manned rocket has ever flown and will very substantially pass the moon, go around it, and come back home from a distance that has never been done before. It's amazing. They are on the way, and God bless them. These are brave people.
Isn't it, what is it, like the Apollo 8 mission, basically? It's like they're...
We want to God bless those 4 unbelievable astronauts. As we speak this evening...
It's kind of a trip that they're making in preparation to land another manned flight, I believe, on the moon later in this decade.
It's been just 1 month since the United States military began Operation Epic Fury, targeting the world's #1 state sponsor of terror, Iran.
So just so we are all on the same page and you know what he's talking about here, you might know the military operation that he's talking about as Operation Epstein Fury. I believe that's a little bit more of a common way to refer to it. It really speaks to what the purpose of the military mission is to change the subject, and I guess it has. We're not really talking about Epstein anymore. We're talking about World War III and the fall of the United States as a major world power. We're talking about, look, chat, the Vietnam War, was embarrassing to the United States because Vietnam is a small country that nobody had heard about in the United States before the invasion of Vietnam, right? But what they were trying to do there was support a capitalist government in the South kind of put a puppet in place, and then the puppet didn't work out, so they assassinated the puppet, and then tried to basically put their finger on their thumb on the scale for the South Vietnamese in the Civil War, and it didn't work out. It didn't work out at all. It backfired in a lot of ways, right? Even in terms of the objectives, probably made the South government less popular, and painted all of their supporters as collaborators. So the United States has a history of getting embarrassed by smaller nations. However, I will say that Vietnam was not in control of 1/3 of the world's oil output, as Iran now is.
7409 super chatted $5. Good morning, Sunface.
Good morning, Sunface. Do I have a sunburn? I shouldn't, chat. I've been trying to stay inside. It is like fucking post-apocalyptic out there right now. I live in one of the most polluted cities in the world right now, just because we got like forest fires nearby, and they're saying don't go outside, don't breathe the air. Every time I do go outside, I come back in like coughing. So I've been I don't know if I have wait, was the Sunface the emote? Maybe it's just an emote. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it in an emote. What am I trying to do here, chat? I'm trying to put there we go. This thing up on the screen. So yeah, if you super chat, I will it will make it'll make a Tim Allen noise. I think that's what that is. First of all, and then if I can get this into place, pardon the stun lock. All right, there we go. We're just adding a little link right here, and there we go. I'm going to put the super chat on screen. At least I think that's what I'm doing. Yep, there we go. Good morning, and thank you for the super chat. That brings us to 20 out of 100. It's not the best night, chat. I've been having a weird night. Anybody that's been watching the whole stream can tell you. Just kind of sick with allergies and nausea and all kinds of stuff. I haven't eaten very much in the last few days, so I'm a little bit spacey, but I got some noodles down earlier, starting to feel better. So yeah, I kind of put off facing the Trump part of the stream until I can't take Donald Trump, when I'm feeling queasy already. I'm just afraid I'm gonna vomit all over the camera or something like that. Probably get banned. It's probably TOS. I don't know.
In these past 4 weeks, our armed forces have delivered swift, decisive, overwhelming victories on the battlefield.
McDonald's on the moon soon. Nice, Paul.
Victories like few people have ever seen before. Tonight, Iran's Navy is gone. Their Air Force is in ruins. Their leaders, most of them.
It's so funny about the Navy thing. I think the Navy is like an afterthought. There was some weird event in, what was it? Was it chat? I can't remember. Was it Bangladesh? That the Iran's Navy was like invited to. It's like a World Navy event or something like that. They shot a few boats that Iran has like down on their way back. It was kind of these the equivalent of a cowboy shooting another cowboy in the back, right? But yeah, I don't think Iran's Navy is really its pride and joy. Look, if you know anything about Iran, you know it's a country of engineers, and those engineers are really good at building missiles, okay? And in addition to that, since drone combat has become a thing, they've gotten really into that too. They're really good at that too, and that's what they're doing most of the damage to the United States too. Like I talked about before with the radar installations and the AWACS. Do you know what an AWACS is? It's a plane with a radar on its tail. It flies up in the air, and it serves the function of a radar. Actually, it's a little bit better because it can get up into the atmosphere, and it can see, when a radar is higher, it can see more. But yeah, we're talking about a multi-million, hundreds of millions of dollars for these giant planes. And this thing just got taken out sitting in an airbase in the Gulf region, right? So yeah, a lot of damage to, U.S. Equipment. And, they're kind of keeping a tight lips about any casualties, any further casualties that are going on. And the biggest damage is to the United States' power on the world stage. Now, I will say, I'm critical of I'm critical of the way that the United States has utilized that power. I'm critical of the hypocrisy behind talking about a rules-based order. And I'm talking about pre-Trump. I'm talking about like Obama, Clinton, Bush, all the other presidents, right? a lot of the stuff that, the high-minded ideals the United States has talked about are kind of bullshit. They're rules for thee, not for me. They're not rules that the United States applies to itself or its allies. They're rules that the United States holds other countries to. That being said, though, I mean, to just see like this, it's not just the fall of the U.S. empire. Obviously, that's going to have ramifications, just like the fall of the Soviet Union did for the people living in the United States. If you talk to people that lived in in Russia after the fall of the Soviet Union, they experienced what's called social decay, which is just, everything gets more miserable. Everything becomes impoverished, right? Nothing, it's just, your country kind of degrades into like a lesser version of itself, right? And that's obviously going to have a negative impact on the American people. But the big impact that we're feeling right now is a worldwide impact, an impact of the disruption of the energy distribution, right? A third of the oil output right now is under the control of Iran. And, during this military conflict, everything is kind of halted. There's been multiple tankers bombed. Iran is letting tankers out of the strait on a per case basis, right? With nations that are not hostile to it. So no to the United States, no to Israel, but anybody else, it sounds like if they've got $2 million in yuan, that's another important aspect that I'll get into a second. But in Chinese currency rather than US dollars, then you can get a tanker through the Strait of Hormuz. You can get some oil sent to you, by working with the Iranians, which is giving Iran more power. Trump is here tonight to declare some sort of victory, to attempt to declare victory, while still complaining about the lack of support from European allies, about the Strait of Hormuz, about things that Iran is doing that he has no power to stop. The first and foremost thing being controlling trade along the Strait of Hormuz. Trump has got no answer for that. He says that he's winding the war. Well, I don't want to steal his thunder here. He's going to make an announcement about the timeline for the end of the war. And, it's a war that the United States is going to exit if it does manage to exit the war. Because, again, it takes two to tango. And if Iran does not recognize, the end of the war, then, effectively there is none. But, assuming that he does get out of the war, chat, he's going to get out of the war like with less than he had before, right? If we go back to before Trump was president the first time, there was a agreement called the JCPOA in effect. This agreement effectively stopped Iran from developing a nuclear weapon, right? Trump didn't like this because he wanted war with Iran. So he, took it down. He ripped up the agreement in his first term, and Biden, the fucking useless sack of shit that Biden was, never managed to put it back in place again. I mean, after you've burned a foreign country by ripping up an agreement, it's pretty hard to get that agreement back. But it might have been possible at the beginning of Biden's term. Honestly, chat, he just was not energetic enough, which I guess if you know how the Biden administration went, it's not that surprising. But yeah, he just didn't seem that motivated to get that agreement back in place. And the whole world is fucking paying for it. I mean, not that Trump couldn't have ripped it right up again, but, that was in place, a certainty that Iran would not develop nuclear weapons if that was indeed a concern. Now, chat, there's reasons for this not to be a concern. The former leader, the Ayatollah, the guy that Trump killed, he signed a fatwa, a religious edict, right? It's like a papal bull if you're Catholic, I guess, sort of. I don't know. I'm not Catholic, so maybe that's not exactly how a papal bull works. But, it's a religious edict saying that Iran, the Islamic state of Iran, right, which it is a theocracy, it will not pursue nuclear weapons because these are weapons for killing human life, right? It's against my religion, was what the former Ayatollah said. And he's dead, right? All the old guys that were kind of mellow are dead. We're dealing with the new guard, who, we've now killed their, grandparents or their, their mentors or whatever. And they're looking at that edict and saying, yeah, maybe that wasn't a good idea. Maybe that wasn't a good idea. Look at North Korea. They've got nuclear weapons. They just got them, right? And nobody fucks with them. Look at Israel. They got nuclear weapons. Nobody fucks with them. We should have nukes too, right? That there is, that point of view has entered the Iranian discourse now, right? The developing nukes as a protection against exactly this sort of thing. So, if you thought this was about, keeping the world safe for further proliferation of nukes, we're likely we're making Iran more likely to develop nukes. Yeah, like the regime change. Yeah, you got regime change from a guy that was 86 years old that was on death's door, and you got a new, more radical generation. Trump's going to try to sell them as more reasonable, but in reality, they're more of zealots. They're more hardcore. They are what's called hardliners, right? They're draw a harder national line. So yeah, there's just no way that you can look at this as a victory, and yet he's got to somehow sell this as like this was a good thing. The United States lost so much in this. The world lost so much. You may be experiencing that right now, depending on where you live. The Philippines is not a great place to live right now, right? Indonesia is not a great place to live. For fuck's sake, the Gulf is not a good place to live right now. There's a lot of people that have been heavily impacted by, Trump's actions, by the rise in oil prices. And, for him to just kind of cavalierly be like, oh, yeah, we won the war, fuck it. We're not even going to sign a ceasefire. We're not even going to deal with the Strait of Hormuz. We're just going to kind of, declare victory and say, if you want the oil, go get the oil. I mean, the rest of the world is very much in a fuck you to Trump, and unfortunately to the United States as well. Let's hear what he has to say, chat, because this is a doozy. Whoever wrote the speech for him, my butterfly is off to you, because like it's like this is a hard thing to sell. This is a hard thing to sell.
Terrorist regime they led are now dead. Their command and control of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is being decimated as we speak.
The fact that the IRGC is still functioning, given the amount of fucking, ordnance that's been exploded over Iran, is actually kind of amazing, right? They knew this would happen. They knew that the United States and Israel had their eyes on them for 40 years. What did Netanyahu say, for like 60 years or something? I don't know, Chad, but like they set up the IRG in such a way that it can operate in cells. It doesn't need to have communication. It's self-sufficient. It doesn't need direct leadership the way that other militaries do, because they anticipated this to be the exact strategy of the United States and Israel. And yeah, no, it's not. It hasn't. And if anything, chat, like, look, let me just talk, because people are going to bring up, people in Iran. Some people in Iran don't like the regime. Yeah, a lot of people in Iran don't like the regime. It's a fucking theocracy, right? There's a lot not to like about the regime in Iran. You've got, like, I don't know, 20% of people that are dead set against it. You got 20% of people, this is just an estimate, that are hardcore supporters of the Islamic revolution in Iran, of the regime. And then you've got like 80% of the people that just want to live, right? And yeah, it's hard under the it's hard under the the theocracy, right? There's a lot that sucks about it. But you know what really sucks? Getting fucking bombed, having your power taken out, having your water supply threatened. That really, really sucks. And so that 80% that's like gettable, if they want a different regime, if they want something else to, come into power, that 80%, they're like, talk to me about it, right? What can we do? What do you want to do? Right? But that 80% is now associating that like idea of regime change with being, having your kids murdered at school, right? So no, at this point, we have made the resolution, the IRGC and the Iranian people are more resolute in favor of the regime than they've been in a long time. And like I said, there's a lot not to like about the regime.
Their ability to launch missiles and drones is dramatically curtailed, and their weapons, factories, and rocket launchers are being blown to pieces. Very few of them left. Never in the history of warfare.
So there were some estimates that a lot of their missiles and drones or whatever, the stuff that Iran's using was knocked out or early in the war. As those estimates have been revised. They've been revised down, right? To like, actually, we got like, they still got most of their stuff, right? And they're doing a lot with a little. Like I'm saying, chat, they're taking out AWACS, which costs like hundreds of millions of dollars, with $10,000 Shahed drones right now, right? They're taking out radar equipment that the American Army uses to be able to see what the fuck is going on, with just like, incredibly cheap drones.
An enemy suffered such clear and devastating large-scale losses in a matter of weeks. Our enemies are losing, and America, as it has been for 5 years under my presidency, is winning, and now winning bigger than ever before.
Yeah, he said you're going to get tired of winning.
Before discussing this,
when you see your family start to starve and waste away, when the power goes out where you live, yeah, you're gonna get tired of winning.
Current situation, I also want to thank our troops for the masterful job they did in taking the country of Venezuela in a matter of minutes. That hit was quick, lethal, violent, and respected by everyone all over the world. After rebuilding our military during my first term, we have by far the strongest military anywhere in the world, and now we're working along with Venezuela and are, in a true sense, joint venture partners. We're getting along incredibly well in the production and sale of massive amounts of oil and gas.
Yeah, so the Venezuela thing, it's actually at this point hard to tell, how much of this is cope. He took out, he took out Maduro. He left the Maduro, he left the regime in place. It's hard to tell, like, who's conning who here, whether he's managed to corrupt the Venezuelan vice president to act against the interest of her own people, or whether he is just lying and she's kind of, doing her own thing. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to analyze like multiple things at once, which is again why he launched the attack on Venezuela, and seeing as how well that went, decided to roll the dice again on Iran, and this time it came up snake eyes. Okay, this time it went really badly for the United States. But
the second largest reserves on Earth after the United States of America. We're now totally independent of the Middle East, and yet we are there to help. We don't have to be there.
We're there to help. We're burning down the fucking world. What are you talking about? Ask fucking your allies in Japan if you're there to help, right?
Oil. We don't need anything they have, but we're there to help our allies. Tonight, I want to provide an update on the tremendous progress our warriors have made in Iran, and discuss why Operation.
We're here to help. We're from the United States. We're here to help.
Epic Fury is necessary for the safety of America and the security of the free world. Do
you have sufficient energy to run your economy? Well, we can help with that. Let's take that out for you. Let's make sure that you have not enough energy.
Very first day I announced my campaign for president in 2015. I have vowed that I would never allow Iran to have a nuclear...
Anti-Yoda, I don't know about U.S. mass casualties, but there probably are casualties being withheld, right? They're able to do this. They're able to suppress the press temporarily, and then it's like a way of backloading the cost of war in terms of casualties, right? Is what they seem to be doing. That being said, to my knowledge, there haven't been boots on the ground, and that's where you'd see mass casualties. Were Trump to order the Marines or the 82nd Airborne into Karg Island, for instance, right, and just make them a shooting target, like a target in a shooting gallery from Iran, were they to try to in some way to control the strait, right? Or were they to make a serious effort to try to, I don't know, escort tankers, which they've kind of gone into the strait, and my understanding is they've gotten hit with drones, right? They moved the Abraham Lincoln kind of closer to the strait, and Iran just starts hitting them with drones, and they move it back, right? They've done this like a couple times, and they've retreated essentially, right? So yeah, were they to put their ships in harm's way, or were they to put their troops in harm's way, likely that we'd see mass casualties. Right now, yeah, there probably are more casualties than we're aware of. But it's not, it's not going to resemble Fallujah or anything, if that's what you're expecting.
Nuclear weapon. This fanatical regime has been chanting death to America, death to Israel for 47 years.
And that's their crime. That's their slogan. We don't like their slogans, okay? Just like fucking Hamas. They say from the river to the sea. Do you know what they mean? They want to throw us in the sea. They want to put us, like, I don't know. Israel gets bent out of shape by slogans. Apparently we get bent out of shape by slogans. You know why Iran has been saying death to America? Do you think it's just that they maybe hate our freedoms? They see us, we're so free. I can, like, you can wear a bikini to the beach, and they're like, I don't know. Actually, I don't know if like Iran is restrictive in that way, but like, yeah, this is the classic thing with like bin Laden or Saddam Hussein that the U.S. government will tell you they hate our freedoms, right? That's what it is. They you have free speech, you have free religion, and they hate it. They hate it. They hate it. They hate it. They can't stand it, right? And in reality, if you look into why is there antipathy in Iran towards the United States, you will invariably, hopefully, come to the Mossadegh government, right? This was the first popularly elected leader in Iran who moved to utilize Iran's oil reserves to do a surprising thing, that is to benefit the people living in Iran. It's a revolutionary idea, wild idea, right? That the oil in Iran should be used for the benefit of the people of Iran. And if other people want to use that oil, they should pay the people of Iran for it. And the problem was that British Petroleum had come in and they were managing the oil. And they wanted to continue to manage and make money out of that oil. And so it's kind of like the United States and the UK saying, like, hey, like, why is our oil buried underneath their ground? How dare they try to take control of this? How dare they try to use the, oil sales to benefit the people? They got rid of Mossadegh and inserted, brought the Shah in as the ruler, as a U.S. puppet, and, enacted repression for years and years on the people of Iran until the revolution. Like, let me talk about the revolution in the 70s. So, there was that government, the Shah was going to be overthrown one way or another. There were different groups that opposed the Shah, including very secular groups, right? Iran under Mossadegh had been a very secular culture. People, this is hidden from you, right? This wasn't like, Iran is not, they're not like they were not a theocracy back in the 50s, right? They were a very cosmopolitan, I guess you would call them progressive, right? Type of culture at that time. And, the faction that was able to win out in the civil war that overthrew the Shah was, the Islamic State, was the theocracy that we've got now, because they're like the most militant, right? That's generally what happens, unfortunately, is when there's a revolution, it's kind of like who takes over, there's a bias in favor of the most militant, and that was the most militant faction. So it's in that context, chat, after de facto ruling over the people of Iran, after denying them their own president, their own autonomy, the ability to use their oil for their people, right? That's when Iran was like, fuck America, right? And it not that they're like, it'd be really cool is to like kill as many Americans as possible. They're not like sitting there ideating about killing Americans, all right? That's not what death to America means in that context. What it means is that it's blowback, okay? You fuck with people around the world and it tends to blow back, right? You go into Afghanistan to oppose the Soviet invasion, which, Afghanistan shouldn't have been invaded, right? But you arm this guy named bin Laden to try to push out that invasion. It's successful. And then later you end up dealing with him again when he gets mad about you having troops in the Holy Lands in Saudi Arabia, right? And so then he's able to recruit hijackers, right? But the United States, the CIA built bin Laden. The United States built Saddam Hussein to go after Iran. There's another reason that Iranians probably say fuck America. The Iran-Iraq war, chat, was a miserable affair. And Iran did come out on top of that. despite the best efforts of Saddam Hussein and his allies in the U.S., there's pictures of him shaking Donald Rumsfeld's hand, right? Hassan Piker, the CIA created Hassan Piker. They gave him the idea to do a live stream. They trained him at live streaming. They put him at a Voice of America, and now he becomes this anti-American power. No, just kidding, chat. But no, Saddam, the United States did prop up, right? A lot of the problems that the United States faces in terms of military are problems that the United States has created, and problems that the United States would not have if it didn't do intervention in the rest of the world the way that it does, right? And this is starting to become, a pretty consensus agreement. Like, there's people on the right that will agree with me on this, that they don't want forever wars, right? I disagree with right-wingers about so much. I hate right-wingers a lot of the times, but, there are right-wingers that would hear what I just said and be like, yeah, no notes, right? It's starting to become a consensus. The American people have never wanted to be in these wars of choice, these wars of aggression, right? To these wars over oil, or in this case, maybe, changing the subject from Jeffrey Epstein, right? You don't want to die for Israel, do you? You don't want to get drafted. But there's some very serious people in Washington that, want to force you to do it anyway. And they got way too much control, right? And chat, no, this isn't a dog whistle, right? I'm just talking about like the Washington consensus, right? The military industrial complex and its effect on the media that you see, right? Whenever anything like this happens, you ever notice all these generals pop up? That's part of selling the war to you. And this time Trump didn't even try to sell the war. Like they usually do a whole buildup where they're like, this is Iran, this is why they're evil, this is why we got to go after them. They make up something, the American people buy it and say, hell yeah, Saddam Hussein's got weapons of mass destruction, let's go get him. And then it turns out we were lied to. And a bunch of people end up dead on both sides. And, you can hate Bush in retrospect, but, he pushed the United States into war with Iraq. He wasted an unbelievable amount of money and resources that could have gone to much better stuff, like stuff that would have made your life better. But instead, it went to the war. And, there's conservatives that thought that Trump was going to be different, right? There were signs even that he might be different, given that he criticized, George W. Bush, as a way to kind of get at Jeb Bush in 2016. He said that he was against the Iraq war. Spoiler, he was actually for it while it was going on. But, hey, good for you that you're against it in retrospect, at least. And, a lot of his rhetoric was about like not getting us into forever wars. Blaming Biden, for instance, for Russia's invasion of the Ukraine, and regarding the sort of hand-me-down equipment that the United States was passing down to Ukraine as this huge like military investment, right? And then when he gets his chance to try to make his name, and Netanyahu's like, you're the only guy that can do this. Come on, do this with me, Donald. Do this. We're gonna go. Barack was too weak to do it. W was too weak. Only you can do it. Only you can do it, Donald. You're the man. You're the legend, right? You were saved from assassination by God. Please go and attack Iran with me. And he fucking fell for it like the dipshit that he is. He got absolutely dog-walked by Bibi into this war that even his own people are not thrilled about. Let's just put it that way.
Their proxies were behind the murder of 241 Americans in the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut, the slaughter of
NDF, thank you for gifting Jerry DB with a membership.
Hundreds of our service members with roadside bombs. They were involved in the attack on the USS Cole, and they carried out the countless other heinous acts.
Oh my God, chat. USS Cole, remind me, this was stationed off of Yemen.
Blood. Just horrible.
I feel like we've blamed other people from the USS Cole. Who was it, chat? Was it bin Laden? Bin Laden was involved, right? Oh my God, I gotta look this up now.
Bloody atrocities of October 7th in Israel. Something that most people have never seen anything like it. This murder is...
So yeah, this is something that probably, like a normal president would have made this argument, would have made this case to you about Iran before going into attack, right? Trump is just too much of a dipshit to do, but he's making this case after the fact. He's like, why do we hate Iran? USS Cole and October 7th, and let's blame them for the Shiite militias in Iraq and the roadside bombs, right? And also they said death to America once. Do you like the war now? No, that doesn't help. Okay. USS Cole bombing. Okay, what do we have here? It is in Yemen. 17 Americans were killed. 2000 October 12th, 2000. Let's see. Let's just like search for Iran. Nope. So in the official fast fact sheet on CNN, there's nothing about Iran and the USS Cole. I thought it was Al Qaeda. Yeah, Ayman al-Zawahiri was supposedly the mastermind. And that I'm pretty sure that's an Al Qaeda guy. Anyway, yeah, he's scratching for anything, right? And again, like a good neocon. There are no good neocons, chat, but this is a neocon that you're looking at. Understand, this is a guy that went into the room with Rubio and Vance and like agreed with Rubio. And I don't even know how serious Vance is in his opposition to war. He said something like, I don't think that we should go to war with Iran, but if we do, we should go all the way. So it's he's weirdly still straddling the fence. But, this guy was susceptible to neocon arguments ultimately, whether those were from Bibi Netanyahu or whether they were from Marco Rubio or what. And the voices Trump listens to are not reliable voices. Yeah, Dr. Hubbs, you're right. The voices that Trump listens to are the voices that tell Trump what he wants to hear. And that is a bad voice to have in your ear if you're a world leader. You cannot fucking govern like that. It's impossible.
Also recently,
Al-Qaeda is a CIA creator, or at least bin Laden, got to start from the CIA. You're correct. You are correct.
Killed 45,000 of their own people who were protesting in Iran. 45,000 dead. For these terrorists to have nuclear weapons would be an intolerable.
Oh, and here's the specter of nukes.
The most violent and thuggish regime on earth would be free to carry out their campaigns of terror, coercion, conquest, and mass murder from behind a nuclear shield. I will never let that happen, and neither should any.
So, yeah, when you condition the world to realize that if you have nukes, you won't get attacked like North Korea. In fact, you'll get glazed. Like, chat, do you think that Donald Trump, we talk about the Epstein files where Epstein refers to Trump as having blown Bubba. No mention of who Bubba is. People have speculated. Is it Bill Clinton? Is it a Ghislaine Maxwell-owned horse? What if it's Kim Jong-un, right? I wouldn't, the way he talks about him, he might have blown Kim Jong-un. I don't know. You get a blowjob from Trump, Chad, if you have nukes. So, that's how we're conditioning the world.
Past presidents. This situation has been going on for 47 years and should have been handled long before I arrived in office. I did many things during my 2 terms in office to stop the quest for nuclear weapons by Iran first. And perhaps most importantly, I killed General Qasem Soleimani in my first term. He was an evil genius, brilliant person, a horrible human being, however, the father of the roadside bomb. And he lived just horrible, what he did.
The father of the roadside bomb, chat. He would stick his dick in all these improvised explosives and impregnate them, and then little roadside bombs would be born out of them. It was the craziest thing. It's kind of like that episode of Rick and Morty, right?
Iran would have been perhaps in far better, stronger position. Had he lived, we would have had probably a different conversation tonight. But you know what? We'd still be winning and winning big. And then, very importantly, I terminated Barack Hussein Obama's Iran nuclear deal, a disaster. Obama gave them $1.7 billion in cash, green cash.
Yeah, it's wild, chat. Imagine if like I was a bank and you had an account in my bank, and I said you can't, and you came to me and you said I'd like to withdraw my cash. I got I've got $100 in the bank account. I'd like it back, and I was like, I'm not gonna give you money. You're a goddamn terrorist. Obama gave you money? Oh my God, Obama gave Iran their own fucking money as a way to get as a carrot to get them to sign a fucking anti-nuclear deal? As a carrot to get them to allow inspectors in the country to look at their spent fuel and make sure it's not being enriched to like a weapons level? It's so frustrating. This guy, like, okay, so if you want to know Trump's superpower as a politician, right? There was a thing for a long time where politicians tried not to lie, or at least tried not to get caught in a lie. And Trump's superpower is that he lies all the fucking time. If you wanted to run down every single lie Donald Trump was telling, you'd be constantly running down lies, right? You know, fact checking operations get exhausted trying to, go over the amount of fucking lies that this guy tells. And when you've got a fucking cult just like licking your balls the way that MAGA treats Donald Trump, or at least the way that MAGA has treated Donald Trump up until now, you're allowed to get away with it because you can just say it's the fake news. You know that quote that you heard from me that contradicts what I just said? That's not really me. It's the fake news media. They're making it up. They just lie. They lie. And now you got your, they're eating out of his ass, chat. They're just like, he's bullshitting them, and they're like, yes, sir, may I please have another bowl, please? Another bowl of bullshit, please. This is delicious bullshit. Can I please have some more? It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it. But people should learn from this, all right? Politicians that thought that lying was you couldn't do it, apparently you can. And that's not me saying that you should, but, the current strategy of trying to rely on shame in order to get people not to lie. It doesn't work on this guy, all right? He's a born liar. It's a reflex.
She took it out of banks from Virginia, D.C., and Maryland, all the cash they had. He flew it by airplanes in an attempt to buy their respect and loyalty, but it didn't work. They laughed at our president and went on with their mission to have a nuclear bomb. His Iran...
He's fucking sundowning here, chat. We're gonna have to speed him up. Is everybody okay with that?
...deal would have led to a colossal arsenal of
We're not gonna
massive
get through
nuclear
this unless we
weapons for
speed him
Iran.
up.
They would have had them years ago, and they would have used them. It would have been a different world. There would have been no Middle East and no Israel right now, in my opinion, the opinion of a lot of great experts, had I not terminated that terrible deal. And I was so honored to do it. I was so proud to do it. It was so bad right from the beginning. Essentially, I did what no other president was willing to do. They made mistakes, and I am correcting them. My first preference was always the path of diplomacy, yet the regime continued their relentless quest for nuclear weapons and rejected every attempt at an agreement. For this reason, in June, I ordered a strike on Iran's key nuclear facilities, an Operation Midnight Hammer. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Those beautiful B-2 bombers performed magnificently.
It wasn't that awesome how they took care of, they eliminated Iran's nuclear capacity, and so we wouldn't need to go back and do anything. Oh wait, except we're back, aren't we? I guess it didn't eliminate the nuclear capacity. Just like if you try to track down anything that he says, and match it up to other things that he's saying, you'll find that there's contradictions. And chat, I don't think he notices the contradictions. I don't think he cares about the contradiction. This asshole is a Nepo baby born with a silver spoon shoved up his butt. All right. He has had everything handed to him on a silver platter. And people think that he's a business genius and everything. He's made less money than you would just investing in the S&P. If you took his inheritance, invested it in the S&P, you'd have more money than him right now. He's under the curve. He failed at real estate. He failed at casinos, chat. You know what casinos are? They're big money skimming operations. There's a ton of money, very little keeping track of it. And people, constantly will skim money off of, they make so much money that the money just disappears and shit like that, right? It's hard not to make money in casinos. And guess who lost money in casinos? This guy, this fucking mouth breathing asshole, right? Lost his daddy's money and had to get bailed out. And it's funny how he did it too, right? His dad comes in with a suitcase full of cash, buys chips at Trump's casino, right? Gets a suitcase full of chips. Now, what you're supposed to do with the suitcase full of chips is then go gamble, right? You buy the chips to gamble at the casino, but his dad doesn't do that. His dad takes the chips home. He just put money in Trump, right? That's what happened. That's what that was. And I think maybe even avoided taxes on it or something. I don't know, Chad. The weird stories like this are just part of Trump's life.
We totally obliterated those nuclear sites. The regime then saw
it's a charmed life for him and a cursed life for the rest of the world.
Rebuild their nuclear program at a totally different location, making clear they had no intention of abandoning their pursuit of nuclear weapons. They were also rapidly building a vast stockpile of conventional ballistic missiles, and would soon have had missiles that could reach the American homeland, Europe, and virtually any other place on Earth. Iran's strategy was so obvious. They wanted to produce as many missiles as possible, and they did, with the longest range possible. And they had some weapons that nobody believed they had. We just learned that out. We took them out. We took them all out so that no one would really dare stop them. And they raced for a nuclear bomb, a nuclear weapon like nobody's ever seen before. They were right at the doorstep. For years, everyone has said that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons.
If you're George W. Bush and you want to say that Iraq has got chemicals of mass destruction, right? You send Colin Powell in front of the UN with a little vial to show them, like, what is it, like this much yellow cake uranium could make a dirty bomb that could, I don't know, like, right? To at least give them something. Now, that's not proof or anything, right? But Trump's making all these claims. They were doing this. They were doing this. This was their motivation. There's no proof for it. He's telling you a story, and you don't know what's been going on in Iran. You probably don't know about the fatwa against developing a nuclear bomb. You don't know about the discourse that, like, up until recently, up until this attack on Iran, developing nukes is a unpopular, like a issue, right? People don't think that they should. Some people, think it's against the Shia faith, including the former Ayatollah, right? But after showing the world what happens when you don't have nukes, that you do get hit over and over again by the United States and Israel every time Trump wants to distract from the Epstein files. You're really making the case for people to just develop nukes as quickly as they possibly can. And that makes a more dangerous world for all of us, right? Including Iran. I'll predict it, chat. Here's my Professor Jang prediction, okay? Predictive history, psychohistory, if you will. I predict that Iran will develop nukes. That's going to happen, right? They're making money off of the oil trade. They've got a lot more power. They have successful tactics that they can spread across the Middle East in terms of the use of drones. And I predict that they will parlay this newfound power into developing nukes, right? Because the other major power in the Middle East is Israel, and that is a nuclear power. And America and Israel have just shown that if you don't have nukes, you do get attacked, right? It won't just be Iran. I predict a lot of countries are going to go nuclear in the near future because of this. I predict that Trump has made a more unstable, less safe world for all of us.
But in the end, those are just words if you're not willing to take action when the time comes. As I stated in my announcement of Operation Epic Fury, our objectives are very simple and clear. We are systematically dismantling the regime's ability to threaten America or project power outside of their borders. That means eliminating Iran's Navy, which is now absolutely destroyed, hurting their Air Force and their missile program at levels never seen before, and annihilating their defense industrial base. We've done all of it. Their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. Their missiles are just about used up or beaten. Taken together.
It depends on what you call the Air Force, chat. What do you think? As a Shahid, now I know the answer to this, right? Militarily, if anybody in the military will tell me that a drone is not considered usually, I think, part of the Air Force. But effectively, if you're talking about air power, right, this is I'll show you in a second after the Trump speech, right, what Iran's Shahed drones have been able to do to the US military. And, you're talking about billions of dollars in damage. You're talking about military bases that were just left unguarded, as if Iran would not, as if that was not the obvious place for Iran to strike. Then they moved the soldiers into hotels. I mean, hello, human shields, right?
That these actions will cripple Iran militarily.
Trump is mad. Look, he's coping. He was sold. Look, for Trump's defense, Provident Time Space, right? He was sold on this being a much easier, more straightforward operation, I believe, by Bibi Netanyahu. People. I mean, he's going to blame Pete Hegseth for it. I think Hegseth is going to end up being kind of a scapegoat. But yeah. I mean, he was massively misled about what this is. And yeah, it's his ego. That's his weak point, right? Did Kamala Harris not say that? I'm not a big fan of Kamala. I hate how she ran her campaign in 2024, but I think she did say something about the man's ego, his narcissism, and that I think her statement was that they would allow Vladimir Putin to manipulate him. She was right, but it allowed Bibi Netanyahu to manipulate him. Oh, Trump, you've done such a good job in Venezuela. Me and the Mossad were so impressed. Oh, I think you're the only man who is man enough to go in and do the same thing in Iran. All the others, the Biden and Obama and W, they were not man enough, but they were nowhere near your match, Trump. So, if you can do that, you're right. He just fucking dog walked him into it. And Trump thought that he thought he was gonna be loved for this, right? He thought he was going to be the big hero, because if you're a piece of shit, if you're a stinker, right? You've probably seen this in wrestling. Oh yeah, I think I'm supposed to add 5 to somebody said they did it was a Twitch Prime sub. Okay, never mind. Sorry. I got distracted by Twitch once again. Bibi doesn't care America. True. Yeah, Bibi, is doing this war to benefit Israel, or the Greater Israel Project. I'm not sure ultimately if it will benefit the Israeli people, who are swiftly becoming a pariah on the world stage. Certainly not welcome in the country that I live in right now, right? There's a lot of stories in social media right now about Israeli tourists, pushing their luck where I live. But yeah, it's definitely not in the interest of the American people. Probably, not in the interest of Trump. This is when you got an ego like this, right? When you're like Donald Trump and you need to have your name on everything, you need to have people praising you, right? Then it's really easy for a guy like Bibi Netanyahu to come along and just convince you to do something that's good for him. That's maybe good for, the vision that he has for Israel, but that is in no way good for you, and certainly not good for your country, right? You're a lot more susceptible to that when you've got a giant inflated ego like Donald Trump. This is a national Achilles heel, chat. This is a weakness, all right? This is a liability. In fact, this motherfucker would not get intelligence clearance to work in whatever, US intelligence, right? Because he's too susceptible to blackmail. And that's something that people are talking about, right? When Trump does something, they don't know, which of the things that he does, which of the, he's doing because he wants to, because he believes in it, and which of it is because of blackmail. People say this about Bibi, that, maybe Israeli intelligence has information on Trump and Epstein that he doesn't want released, and that maybe he's not just being dog walked, maybe he's being blackmailed, right? Maybe he's being blackmailed by every fucking country on the face of the earth, because what he's doing right now, chat, it's long-term good for China, not good for China in the short term, of course. Long-term good for China as emerging world power, good for Iran, good for Russia, right? Good for Israel, bad for the United States. There was a time in France, the thing that got them to finally abolish the monarchy, and chat, they did it. Let me just say that they did abolish the monarchy in France with extreme prejudice, okay, if you know your history, right? They abolished the fuck out of the monarchy, right? They cut it off. But anyway, one of the reasons that they finally, because the French, here's what happened, chat. Like, there's this crisis. They don't like what the king is doing, but they're blaming it on his, I believe, his mistress, right? They're saying this mistress is an evil, vile succubus, is manipulating our dear father of France, our father of the nation, our good king that we love, because, you know, it's divine right to kings over there, right? The kings were supposed to be descendant from the Merovingians, who were descendant from Christ, right? It was like, you know, these are like god kings, kind of, you know, up until this point. And the thing that changed their mind about their god king, right, was when they saw him writing notes treasonous to the country, talking to other officials in other countries, and essentially betraying France. Chat. That is what got. That's what got him louised, you know, ultimately, right? And so I don't know, you know, what's going to happen to Trump. I don't know what's going to happen to Trump's family, but I do foresee a lot of people in the U.S. feeling massively betrayed, including, chat, and this is something that we got to talk about, including some of his closest supporters. Like, let's think about the two guys that tried to take Trump out, right? Thomas Matthews Crooks might as well be the chud emoji, okay? That guy's a personified chud Wojak, okay? And yes, he was a conservative, he was a MAGA, he was a Trump fan. He turned on Trump at some point, or wanted, you know, to start a civil war, and, you know, he nicked Trump's ear. The other guy was a you know, kind of a Ukraine freak. But before he went to Ukraine, he was a Trump freak. He was a MAGA freak, right? The two guys that have tried to kill Trump are MAGA, right? And so this betrayal, I don't know when it's going to end. I suspect it will outlast Donald Trump's life. I suspect that this is going to be, you know, maybe even preclude anything approaching a dynasty, and probably, you know, come back in a really horrific way on some family member in the future, right? When you try to ensconce power within a dynastic family line, you get like what happened in Russia, right? The Tsar's family, the Romanovs, including the children, were killed as a way of the Bolsheviks preventing the the royal line from coming back. Okay, so anyway. What I'm saying, chat, just the takeaway from this is Trump is invoking a massive wave of karma that it is just, you know, I don't see, like, he is betraying the country on a level that is somewhat unprecedented. And when the facts come to light, there's going to be hell to pay. And I don't even know if this guy's going to be around for that, chat. Like Alex Jones says, he's not long for this earth. I don't usually find myself agreeing with Alex Jones, but, you know, Alex Jones noticed his cankles just like I did. And yeah, what this says is congestive heart failure. What this says is the president does not have long to live. So, you know, he's gonna die. Vance is gonna take over. Ostensibly, Vance is anti-war, but he said weird things like, you know, I'm anti-war, but if we're gonna do the war with Iran, we should do it. We should go all the way. Like, we should do it full on. So I don't know what full on means. Maybe hopefully we won't find out. I don't know if Trump is even, he's saying that in 2 to 3 weeks, you know, the strikes will be over, right? The U.S. involvement in the war will be over. That's what he's saying. He kind of, you know, has said shit like that before. This was supposed to be all wrapped up within a month. But you know, and we're in like week 5 now. But yeah, he's what I'm saying is he might not last 2 to 3 weeks, chat. He's not healthy, you know, and he's not really, I mean, you can see in this speech, chat, he's not all there. He's kind of Bidening.
Crush their ability to support terrorist proxies and deny
Trump is going to make America poor. I mean, he's already on his way to that for sure.
them the ability to build a nuclear bomb. Our armed forces have been extraordinary. There's never been anything like it militarily. Everyone is talking about it, and tonight I'm pleased to say that these core strategic objectives are nearing completion. As we celebrate this progress, we think...
Yeah, we're all celebrating. Are you celebrating in chat? Are we all happy about this?
American warriors who have laid down their lives in this fight to prevent our children from ever having to face a nuclear Iran. Twice this past month, I've traveled to Dover Air Force Base And it's been something. I wanted to be with those heroes as they return to American soil, and I was with them and their families, their parents, their wives, their husbands. We salute them, and now we must honor them by completing the
Trump has a mental illness, says Shah Parim. Yeah, sometimes I think Trump is a mental illness that this country has.
mission for which they gave their lives, and every single one of the people, their loved ones said, please,
We'll never find out if Trump is gay, just like Prince. God damn it, you're right, Burple. You're right.
sir, please finish the job. Every one of
Please, sir, finish the job. Please, sir, kill my family. Kill my relatives, sir. Open up business opportunities.
them. And we are going to finish
Kill the school children. Kill them all, please.
the job, and we're going to finish it very fast. We're getting very close. I want to thank our allies in the Middle East.
Feel for the soldiers, boots on the... okay, so you mean the Iranian soldiers, maybe? There's no American soldiers in Iranian territory, at least, you know, from like I haven't seen reports of such, right? They did move soldiers into the area, and Trump has like said things like, I don't want to rule out boots on the ground. But the prognosis that he's going to give tonight is that the war gets wrapped up in 2 to 3 weeks. And again, chat, just because Trump exits the war doesn't mean that the war is over. Doesn't mean that that Iran will let tankers pass in the strait. Does not mean that the Houthis are not going to disrupt trade on the other side, on the Red Sea side of the Arabian Peninsula. Right, there's a lot of balls still in the air that don't even have anything to do with Trump. So, yeah, he set this thing in motion, chat, and nobody quite knows how to actually wind it down.
Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain, they've been great, and we will not let them get hurt or fail in any way, shape, or form. Many Americans have been concerned to see the recent rise in gasoline prices here at home. This short-term increase has been entirely the result of the Iranian regime launching deranged terror attacks against commercial oil tankers.
Oh my God, is this a quote from Ayatollah Khomeini in 2014? So this is the guy that died at 86, surrounded by his family, who were also murdered by the United States. Yeah, this is what we do now, chat. We just kill world leaders. I'm sure that's not going to come back to bite us at any point. Obviously, by death to America, we don't mean to the American people. The American nation is just like the rest of the nations. It means death to U.S. policies and its arrogance. Okay, I mean, yeah, like I said, there's bad blood with the United States from Iran, and there's a reason for that, and it has everything to do with stuff that foreign policy choices by previous presidents
that have nothing to do with the conflict. This is yet more proof that Iran can never be trusted with nuclear weapons. They will use them, and they will use them quickly. It would lead to decades of extortion, economic pain, and instability worse than we can ever imagine. The United States has never been better prepared.
Instability, like the instability you've just inflicted on us, which is also worse than we could ever imagine. Like if people told you, chat, like a few years ago, that the petrodollar, the basis for U.S. power, like economically and ultimately militarily, right, was on its way out. If people told you that only 45% of the energy or the oil trade would be conducted in U.S. dollars, right? Which is what this is all about. This is how the United States, it's the system that the United States has gone to after the gold standard, right? They would not believe you. If people told you that Iran would go from a pariah state, under the effects of a decades-long embargo, to being certainly a regional power, if not a global power, because we're talking about a nation that now controls 2/3 of, I believe, oil output, right? Is controlled by Iran, and yeah, anything coming or going out of the Strait of Hormuz also controlled by Iran. The country that I'm in, chat, has negotiated with Iran, has paid the fee, the $2 million in yuan, in order to get a tanker through, so that people here don't run out of oil, which is already there's gas stations with like no petrol signs here. So
prepared economically to confront this threat. You all know that we built the strongest economy in history. We're going through it right now, the strongest in history. In 1 year, we've taken a dead and crippled country. I hate to say that, but we were a dead and crippled country after the last administration and made it the hottest country anywhere in the world by far, with no inflation, record-setting investments coming into the United States, over $18 trillion, and the highest stock market ever, with 53 all-time record highs in just 1 year. It all positioned us to get rid of a cancer that has long simmered. It's known as the nuclear Iran, and they didn't know what was
I
coming.
feel like I'm looking at a cancer that is long simmered.
They've never imagined it. Remember, because of our Drill Baby Drill program, America has plenty of gas. We have so much gas.
All this guy is slogans. All he's got is drill baby drill. All he's got is catchphrases.
Under my leadership, we are #1 producer of oil and gas on the planet, without even discussing the millions of barrels that we're getting from Venezuela because of the Trump administration's.
And again, chat, that is true. United States, I think, is the largest oil producer, but that didn't happen under the Trump administration. Guess which administration that was? And this isn't a flex, by the way. This is not me glazing Biden. It was Biden who did it, right? I don't agree with those policies, right? If you're smart right now, you're looking into renewables. You're developing renewable energy. You're creating energy independence for yourself, independent from your ability to, trade for energy and or even, to produce energy, right? Energy that you can just comes on when the sun comes up. Energy that just comes on when the wind blows, when the tide moves, right? Nations like that, like this is the reason that China is in a better position right now than Japan, right? They did, kind of beyond a Green New Deal, not necessarily because they, care about the environment, but for this energy independence, because they realized that because the United States has used their access to energy as a weapon against them, and they want to be immune to that.
Policies, we produce more oil and gas than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. Think of that, Saudi Arabia and Russia combined.
And Biden is, pointing to that. I did that. He literally did, chat, whether you
and that number will
agree with it or not.
soon be substantially higher than that. There's no country.
Yeah, isn't this crazy? Trump is flexing Biden policies, right?
We're in the world, and we're in great shape for the future. The United States imports almost no oil through the Hormuz Strait and won't be taking any in the future. We don't need it. We haven't needed it, and we don't need it.
What's next? He's going to brag about AUKUS?
We've beaten and completely decimated Iran. They are decimated, both militarily and economically and in every other way. And the countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish it. They must grab it and cherish it. They can do it easily. We will be helpful, but they should take.
So this is what he's saying. I'm not going to do shit. I fucked up the Strait of Hormuz. I got it shut down, and I'm not going to help open it back up. Now, that's probably a good thing. Again, chat, like my hope is that this guy's head turns into a taco, like right before us. And he says, taco, 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 taco. I'm Taco Trump. I taco on everything. I wasn't serious about anything. Tariffs canceled. We're going to refund Medicaid. We're going to put the money back in USAID. Yeah, it's a big taco. But that's not, obviously that's not realistic. He's not going to taco on everything. But I will hope that he at least tacos on. This is what pisses me off, right? Whenever anybody's like interviewing Trump and he's like, yeah, no, I think we did okay. We got our objectives. We killed the Ayatollah. Their nuclear program is, and they're like, but Mr. President, aren't you going to go in and get the nuclear, fuel that's buried deep underneath the ground? Aren't you going to send a team of American commandos in there under extreme danger to take the nuclear fuel out? And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Don't give him any ideas. Tell him he's won. Tell him he's won. Tell him he's won everything. Tell him he's good, right? But these fucking media people, they're so hungry for more war. They're even more hard up than he is. Even this dipshit up here realizes the Iran war is a bad thing, and you've still got corporate voices and media voices and voices in the Democratic Party that are like, I would love it if we would just, could we maybe we could secure the Strait of Hormuz. Like they're giving him ideas, chat. Just tell me one. Just tell him he don't. Anytime they're like, but Mr. President, don't you want to, like blah 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 blah. It's like no, don't give him any more ideas, okay? Like we need this guy to taco. It is gonna leave America in a much worse position, negotiating objectives that we could have gotten just by signing a deal with Iran, which they offered. Right? They offered a better deal actually than the JCPOA, and Witkoff and Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, who is Witkoff, let me just explain, is Trump's golf partner, right? So these dipshit, asshole fuckheads that Donald Trump knows, like people in his life that he knows and trusts and shit, like they weren't smart enough to figure out that Iran was actually offering them something new, and they said no. Or they just didn't want to deal they wanted the war, right? They were just there to say no. I don't know, chat. But yeah, this is what happens when you got incompetent fucking minions like running the administration. You don't even know when your enemy is offering you something that they should not offer you, that is a very good deal for you, that you should lock the fuck in. But yeah, nope. Couldn't get that. Couldn't re-sign the GCPOA. You lost control of the Strait of Hormuz, okay? Is what you managed to do. You got billions of dollars of U.S. equipment destroyed. You have American, bases in the Gulf just smoking, plumes of smoke rising from them. It's fucking ridiculous how bad this guy lost to a nation that a few weeks ago was on the brink of chaos, right? Not a few weeks ago, a month or so.
And protecting the oil that they so desperately depend on. So to those countries that can't get fuel,
oh my God,
which refuse to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, we had to do it ourselves. I have a suggestion. Number one, buy oil from the United States of America. We have plenty. We have.
This looks like somebody to take on the intelligence in the Trump administration. What intelligence are you talking about?
And number two, build up some delayed courage. Should have done it before. Should have done it with us, as we asked. Go to the Strait and just take it, protect it, use it for yourselves. Iran is.
You're a dumb fuck. You got conned by a con man who's actually a dumb fuck himself. He's losing a war to like a much weaker nation, okay? What are you flexing? What the fuck are you flexing? There's nothing to be proud of. You fucked up. You voted for somebody who shit the American empire down the toilet, okay? And if you want America to be great again, you got the exact opposite of make America great again, right? You got make the America a third-rate power again. The United States has not been weaker since probably before the turn of the century, right? It's crazy. It's crazy that people still cope about this.
It's been essentially decimated. The hard part is done, so it should be.
The intelligence of the Trump administration, my dude, what are you talking about?
And in any event, when this conflict is over, the Strait will open up naturally. It'll just open up naturally. They're going to want to be able to sell oil because
that's what happens,
that's all they have to try and rebuild. It will resume the flowing, and the gas prices will rapidly come back down. Stock prices will rapidly go back up. They haven't come down.
That's what happens when you start a fight for no reason, and then your enemy takes control of the Strait. They just naturally, even though it's not in their interest, they just naturally reopen. Look, they might reopen the Strait out of the goodness of their own heart, all right? It doesn't make sense, but it would be a PR move, right? And look, Iran's in the place now where they can start making PR moves, right? Iran's in the place now where people are coming to them. Why are they coming to them? For oil, chat. A lot of places can't get oil. And if you got $2 million and you can convert it into yuan and you can give it to Iran, you too can have some oil as well, right? It's that easy. And so a lot of people are like, I don't know, I kind of want to go with Iran. Now they could buy, U.S. is also an oil supplier. Trump's pointed out they could buy oil from the United States. They're not doing that, chat. In fact, most of the world now is they're not even trading in oil in dollars. This is disastrous if you understand what the petrodollar is, what the United States dollar is based on, right? This is disastrous. I mean, sure, the American empire needs to be taken down a peg or two, but holy shit, the whole world, is suffering along with it.
Very much, frankly, they came down a little bit, but they've had some very good days over the last couple of days. We've done actually much better than I thought, but we had to take that little journey to Iran to get rid of this horrible threat with our historic tax cuts, where people are just now talking about receiving larger refunds than they.
So the reason he says that little journey to Iran, the reason he describes this as a trip, he early on in the war, he said, we're going to make a little excursion to Iran. Now, if you know the English language, you know that excursion means like a trip. Like if I, went to Vietnam for 5 days, I would be taking an excursion to Vietnam, right? The word that he meant to say was incursion, right? An incursion is when your troops kind of go into another country. You're making an incursion, right? Or in this case, Air Force and you know, naval you know, assets. Yeah, well, so the reason he's saying, he's trying to retcon it, like, oh no, I meant to say excursion the whole time. Yeah, no, I was using figurative language there, right? No, I meant I was making a little joke of like, yeah, we'll take a little excursion to Iran, a little excursion, right? And when in reality, it's just that the president's a stupid guy who uses words that are a little too big for him to understand. And then when he gets caught, not knowing what he talks about, he tries to say, no, I actually meant that. I actually meant an excursion. So yeah, there you have it.
They ever thought possible. They are getting so much more money.
I am thirsty, chat.
Big, beautiful bill. Our economy is strong and improving.
Please don't leave. I'm still here. I'm just going to grab some water.
By the day, and it will soon be roaring back like never before. It will top the levels that it was a month ago. I've made clear from the beginning of Operation Epic Fury that we will continue until our objectives are fully achieved. Thanks to the progress we've made, I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly. We are going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong. In the meantime, discussions are ongoing. Regime change was not our goal. We never said regime change, but regime change has occurred because of all of their original leaders' death. They're all dead. The new group is less radical and much more reasonable. Yet if during this period of time no deal is made, we have our eyes on key targets. If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably simultaneously. We have not hit their oil, even though that's the easiest target of all, because it would not give them even a small chance of survival or rebuilding. But we could hit it, and it would be gone, and there's not a thing they could do about it.
So whoever told me this was a boring-ass speech and this sucked, I think you were right. Anybody else bored of it? We got some analysis to watch of this too, right? Including so many breaking points just had on what's his name, Professor Pape or Pape, or it's not Elon Pape, it's George Pape, I think is his name. But yeah, you know, he's talking about what we just saw happen in a month, which is somewhat impressive, you know, like unprecedented, right? Now look, you know, you got like world wars, which obviously, you know, change more in geopolitics, usually over a longer time. And this isn't that, you know, this isn't, you know, this is a air campaign from Israeli and U.S. Air Force mainly against Iran. There's a limit to, you know, the damage that they can do. A lot of Iran's installations are underground or, you know, submerged in mountains and stuff like that, right? So it wasn't like a huge, you know, I mean, they spent, you know, look, let me be honest, right? The amount of money they spent, they probably could have given you healthcare several times over, right? They could have forgiven everybody's student loans, right? Any problem that you got, they could have taken care of if it, you know, with the money that they spent on the missiles and the planes, and you know, the planes that got damaged, you know, but you know, compared to other conflicts, you know, it's a relatively short and relatively small exchange, and there's no ground, you know, there's no ground fighting that's been going on. But you know, the change in the, like, I don't know, global power rankings, if you want to look at it that way, is immense, and it's not good for the U.S.
They have no anti-aircraft equipment. Their radar is 100% annihilated. We are unstoppable as a military force. The nuclear sites that we obliterated with the B-2 bombers have been hit so hard that it would take months to get near the nuclear dust, and we have it under intense.
Didn't one of the B-2 Spirits go down?
Satellite surveillance and control. If we see them make a move, even a move for it, we'll hit them with missiles very hard again. We have all the cards, they have none. It's very important that we keep this conflict in perspective.
Yeah, the thing is that the United States, so, you know, the idea that the United States can exert overwhelming force upon Iran to bend it to our will is just not true. If it was true, the strait would be open. He's made these threats before. He's unleashed fire and fury. And Iran does not give a fuck. If we escalate, right? We go after their nuclear installations, they go after Israeli nuclear installations, and they can hit those, right? Because the Iron Dome is, what's the word, chat? the Iron Dome has had its back walls blown out. Okay, the Israeli, missile defense, drone defense apparatus is not what it used to be, right? If we hit their water supply, their desalination, their desalination, Iran can strike similar targets in the Gulf area, if not in Israel itself, right? So we can escalate it further, but Iran's got a parallel escalation that they can do in response that ultimately the United States doesn't want. The last time the United States threatened to basically take out Iran's like power installations, Iran is like, we could do the same thing to you. And Trump decided, I better not do that. Iran didn't back down. Iran didn't get built to the US as well. It was the other way around. The United States backed down. You saw this happen, right? Where he's like, you got 2 days to open the strait. And then 2 days comes up and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to give you 5 more days, right? And then it becomes 10 days, give you 10 days, right? That's not somebody that's fucking serious about anything. That's not somebody that's got anything that he can use as leverage against Iran. He's got nothing, chat. This is the first time maybe in Trump's, life that his crying, screaming tantrum has not gotten him what it wants. There's nothing he can do, and he knows it. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing because this was supposed to be the thing that brought him back to popularity, right? In his mind, rally around the flag. All right, we all hate Iran. And it's true. A lot of the media hates Iran. A lot of the, the deep state hates Iran. But the thing is, American people not quite as on board as you thought. Not quite. I mean, they don't trust Iran. They don't like Iran. They think Iran are a bunch of terrorists, but they don't want war with Iran. So no, there's no rally around the flag. You are shitting away the little bit of popularity. You are breaking apart MAGA at this point, right? The hardcore supporters, that nasty little 30% that no matter what Trump does, if he takes a shit in the White House and smears it all over the walls, they're like, a beautiful painting, Mr. President. Thank you very much for decorating our White House with your amazing finger paint art, right? That's wonderful, Trump. Even these people are like, I didn't expect this. I don't want this. I don't want to send my fucking kids to die for Israel.
American involvement in World War I lasted 1 year, 7 months, and 5 days. World War II lasted for 3 years, 8 months, and 25 days.
Oh, he's so smart.
The Korean War lasted for 3 years, 1 month.
Yeah, he just knows the shit off the tip of his tongue, chat. He's a...
And 2 days. The Vietnam
There
War
are
lasted
people
for
that think
19 years,
Trump is
5
smart.
months, and 29 days. Iraq went on for 8 years, 8 months, and 28 days. We are in this military operation.
You get what he's trying to say? So the first thing was like, no new wars. And then, he does all these, the thing with Venezuela and shit like that. And he's like, well, no boots on the ground, no boots on, then the single, they like, oh, no quagmire. So now what he's saying is that, like, look, George W. Bush was more popular than me after, running a war that did turn into a quagmire, or not after it, but like, during the war. Right, Trump is incredibly. We watched the Harry Enden polls a little bit earlier. Yeah, but Trump is incredibly historically unpopular. And like I said, in the case where the president makes the sale to the American people, states his case and is able to convince them, Saddam Hussein, it's weapons of mass destruction. He maybe had something to do with 9/11 too, even though he didn't. Then the American people do rally around the flag, right? But when you don't, and you're just doing a war to distract from Epstein, and then later you realize, oh, wait, you're supposed to explain it to the American people, like why you're doing this, what this is supposed to achieve? Yeah, no, you end up being, it doesn't have any positive effect at all. And so, yeah, like Trump's last best hope to not get just completely clobbered in the midterms seems to be dissipating.
So powerful, so brilliant against one of the most powerful countries for 32 days. And the country has been eviscerated and essentially is really no longer a threat. They were the bully of the Middle East, but they're the bully no longer. This is a true investment.
Joe Biden, in the 80s, you're talking about Zuber, said that if there were no Israel, the United States would have to invent an Israel. What that represents is a outpost of I don't know, Western political interests, like U.S. aligned political interests in the Middle East, which, you know, is obviously, you know, a crucial geostrategic portion of the world. The United States kind of got its, you know, has made deals with the Saudis, made deals with the Gulf states, and formed a strong alliance with Israel. And yeah, Israel acts in, as some people describe it, as an unsinkable aircraft carrier in the Middle East in order to launch any operations that the United States wants to launch. And, you know, Israel's, you know, intelligence and military are, you know, coming into, you know, being, you know, a power in their own right. But the difference is between Biden and Trump, and this is sad for me to say, because I have a lot of problems with Biden's Israel policy. Okay, but Joe Biden, for all of his faults, for all of his you know, monstrous support of a state that was conducting a genocide, right? He did not get pulled into a war with Iran. He did not, you know, attack Iran with Israel, right? George W. Bush, Barack Obama, same thing. They got, at some point, they got that offer from Bibi, right? In fact, you could even watch the movie W. It's a dramatization of the Bush administration. Of course, we don't know exactly what was said behind closed doors, but, you know, it's a pretty good approximation, I think, of what probably happened. And the person selling the Iran war to George W. Bush and the Bush administration was actually Dick Cheney. And ultimately, he did not end up buying, right? Donald Trump is the chump that fell for the obvious fucking con. The con that every other American president, even Biden, even somebody that's like, literally, I love Israel, it's enacting our goals in the Mideast. You know, if it didn't exist, we'd have to invent it, right? Even somebody like Joe Biden was not dumb enough to, you know, essentially dissipate America power to the benefit of Israel, and Trump was. So there you go, right? As much as I hate Biden and his policy on Israel, it's somehow Trump managed to be worse.
In your children and your grandchildren's future, the whole world is watching, and they can't leave the power, strength, and brilliance. They just can't believe what they're seeing. They leave it to your imagination, but they can't believe what they're seeing, the brilliance of the United States military. Tonight, every American can look forward to a day when we are finally free from the wickedness of Iranian aggression and the specter of nuclear blackmail. Because of the actions we have taken, we are on the cusp of ending Iran's sinister threat to America and the world. And I'll tell you, the world is watching. And when we do, when it's all over, the United States will be safer, stronger, more prosperous, and greater than it has ever been before. May God bless the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much, and good night.
Holy shit. Okay, it was less painful. I didn't think we'd get through that, chat. But apparently Trump sundowned, so that's Trump sundowning has redounded to our benefit. I was getting sick of that. Zuber Patel, it's hard to accept that the U.S. is collapsing, especially, what is this? Part of the plan to make Israel the new central body. Zuber, you're not talking about something called Pax Judaica by chance, are you? We'll get that's a Professor Jang theory. I talk about Jang. In fact, we talked about him yesterday. Yeah, we need to. I need to revisit that, right? I got some thoughts about Professor Jang. But yeah, you know, you are seeing, you know, I guess you could say, like, I don't know if I want to say Israel stock is going up. I think that was the plan. I think, yeah, the plan was to diminish United States power at the benefit of Israel. I think that Israel's managed to stretch itself too thin in Lebanon. I mean, we'll see what happens, but incursions into Lebanon, and yeah, the word is incursion, not excursion. Excursion is a trip, a vacation. An incursion is when you send armed forces into another country, right? Their incursion into southern Lebanon is, it never goes well for them when they do this, and they've taken a bridge even further than they normally do. So this might really blow up in Israel's face. But yeah, I do think there is, you know, if you listen to what Netanyahu's saying, there's definitely plans to make Israel into a regional power. And like, look, them taking out Iran, either Iran descending into civil war or destabilization, or there being a regime change where somebody friendly like Reza Pahlavi, the son of the Shah, were to come into power in Iran and just act as a puppet for the United States and Israel, right? That would probably make Israel the undisputed, power of the Middle East, right? And actually put them in a good position to become a major world power, which is what Netanyahu says their goal is. And, this backs up kind of Professor Chang's theories as well. Again, we'll get into Jang. We'll get into Jang at some other point, Chad. I cannot talk about I got to talk about one thing at a time here, but yeah, there's Donald Trump's speech. Now that's kind of crazy because like I thought we had like an hour of this. The first, I don't know, 20 minutes were like Rubio, and then they had a panel. Trump speaks for what is this? What the fuck? Okay, so then we got more like coverage. Oh, they're monitoring the situation. We're monitoring the situation. Oh, I guess it's analysis of the Trump speech. Okay, well, we can do. We'll find our own analysis for the Trump speech. There's some stuff that I want to show you. Yeah, but that was Donald Trump's speech tonight. Terrible, ridiculous. Self contradictory, but thankfully over now, and we can move on. I wanted to show you Breaking Points. This is a channel that I watch a lot. They have right-wing hosts and left-wing hosts who do find some agreement from time to time on things like the war in Iran. Like I was mentioning earlier, it's kind of becoming a consensus that nobody really likes forever wars. Nobody people are getting wise to the fact that these wars benefit. Oh no, the Kristi Noem thing. I haven't even looked at this, chat. This is on the bonus content. I will say really quickly, right? We're at, what is it, 23 out of 100. Now we only get bonus content if we get to 100. We're pretty far away from that right now. I think I need to add though, somebody earlier said that they had a resub, and because of stream elements, it didn't like post or something. So I'm just going to add 5 points to there and say that we are 72 points away from achieving bonus content status. We're at 28 right now. And yeah, like I said, by the end of the stream, if we get to 100, I'll do one of these topics, one of these bonus topics. What's winning right now? Because I think it was actually Kristi Noem and her husband, the last I checked. Yep. Crispy Noem. Kristi Noem's husband did what? Yeah, that's what I want to find out. I haven't looked into the story, but apparently there's pictures of Kristi Noem's husband wearing some pretty weird shit. Or something. There's something going on with Kristi Noem's husband. That's in first place. Second place, we got Alex Jones, done with Trump. Third place, we got Tabernacle, is Dune pro MAGA? Drewski, that's a weird question. Drewski's Erica Kirk is in fourth place, right? Remember, you can vote if you haven't already. The vote is going on the wide stream, not the short stream, not the vertical stream, but you can click over to the wide live stream and place your vote. Come on over and make your voice heard. If you haven't already, make sure to like the stream while you're at it, because that helps me out a lot, and I appreciate it greatly. And again, if we get to, I think we're looking for 72 more points. Again, the thing that makes this number go up is super chat, super stickers. If you get yourself a membership, if you gift a membership, if you support me on Throne.com, if you support me on Patreon.com, or if you support me on Twitch, right? All those things make the number go up. If the number goes up to 100, then I stick around and I do another topic. And right now, the topic, I guess, would be finding out about, Kristi Noem's husband, Crispy Noem. You gotta love it. It sounds like a donut or something, doesn't it? A Crispy Noem. I don't know. Chat. Like I could now I'm hungry. If you're just joining us, I have been sick over the last 2 days. There's like this haze of smoke over my town right now. And every time I go out, I start coughing like crazy because the air is unbreathable. And so I haven't eaten much over the last 2 days, and it's just struggling through this stream. But right now donuts sound pretty good. Anyway, Let's get into breaking points here. Not the crispy gnome story, but rather, wait, CIA legend? Who is this guy?
Joining us next is Robert Baer, former CIA case officer of more than 20 years.
Now, look, I know like a lot of these cable networks bring on CIA guys, and in general, you know, the statement about the CIA is that you're never completely out of the service, even if you are retired. You know, you're never totally retired. So, you know, keep that in mind. Take this with a grain of salt, even though this is somebody. Ryan Grimm is a journalist from Breaking Points. You know, he's pretty much you know, been exposing a lot of what the security state would like keep from the American people. So, you know, he's not, you know, he's not Wolf Blitzer or fucking Jake Tapper here. If he's brought this CIA guy on, I know there's a reason, but just remember, you know, you can't trust these guys, even when they're like telling you, you know, supposedly the truth, even when they're like, you know, ratting out like, you know, the current operations or something, right? It's always a little iffy. Anyway, let's see what this is about. I don't know who this guy is.
Turned author and political commentator. Emily, we pre-taped this interview yesterday. He said he doesn't actually get up in the morning, which, okay. Good.
Nothing but
Good for you.
respect for that.
Nothing but,
That's
absolutely,
my dream.
Yes, I aspire to that. And so Baer is a highly respected kind of CIA case officer who is unusual in the sense that he knows of what he speaks, in the sense that like he's been all over the world. He's been an undercover officer. Like we talked about earlier on the show. He was made famous for a little while because they tried to, US, I believe, like tried to prosecute him for attempting to assassinate Saddam Hussein. And his defense, effective it turned out, was I was doing this on behalf of the CIA. Like, don't you understand what it's the CIA? Don't you know what the CIA does?
Wasn't Syriana also roughly based on him?
Yes, that's correct. One of his books was turned into Syriana, and the George Clooney character is modeled after Robert Baer. Now, and so he's kind of like the best that the CIA has to offer in the sense of trying to understand, you know, our adversaries,
In Iran particularly.
But that doesn't. And I think I want people to understand Iran, and Iran particularly. But I want people to think about that. As he mentions in our interview, he's only been there a little bit, and his understanding of Iran is surface deep,
Right.
which he would acknowledge.
Yep.
And yet he knows it better than most of the rest of the CIA. The major thing I took away from the interview is just how screwed the CIA is, and our intelligence community.
Our intelligence, yeah.
That, wow, like they're just operating based on caricatures and like what they read and like the propaganda outlets that we finance.
This is dark literally and metaphorically.
Yeah.
Yeah. he
So we thought it'd be. He hasn't done many interviews over the last many months, but he agreed to come on the show. And we thought does not mean any of us agree with everything he said or remotely agree.
So interesting.
Remotely
But it was.
believe that. But interesting to hear. You know, where he thinks this is going,
Yes.
not well for the United States.
Yeah.
Put it that way. And he talks about the Samson option multiple times, which is also the name.
Okay, so Samson option. I was about to fast forward it and be like, I hate how Ryan and Emily just waste time with chitter chatter. Yeah, it's not. Anyway, I'm not efficient with my time. I talk too much too. But the Samson option, Samson option, whatever it is. They're talking about like the idea that were Israel to go down, right? Were they to, you know, be, you know, destabilized, you know, conquered, overthrown, overcome, defeated, right? That you know, their response may very well be to deploy, you know, their nuclear weapons anywhere and everywhere, just to be like, if we're going down, you're going down with us, right? Samson in the Bible was a strong man, a fighter for Israel at the time, and his power came from his hair. And he met a woman who was on the side. It was the Philistines, maybe, that they're fighting against, right? She's on the side of the Philistines, and she tricks him into letting her cut his hair off. He becomes weak without his hair, and you know, they chain him up to the pillars, and they're like, "This is the strong Israeli man that we've now he's captured. He's powerless, right?" And Samson goes, as a last act of desperation, he goes, "Argh!" Makes some giant Arnold Schwarzenegger noise, and like pulls down the pillars, and all of the whole thing. Everybody dies, right? You know, they got Samson, but he also took them out. So that's the reference that, I mean, I'm sure most of you know this already, but that's the reference that is being alluded to.
A Seymour Hersh book, which is a reference to.
I feel like I explained too much.
Israeli strategy that they would rather basically nuke the world than lose a war, and so that was that's not what you want.
Now you see, chat, like oxygen is the stuff that we breathe. It's necessary for various chemical reactions within our body, and when our oxygen levels go down, bad things happen. And like I don't know, I'm explaining too much. See, now gravity tends to pull things towards large mass bodies of mass, and on the Earth, the biggest the body is probably the Earth itself. That's why everything seems to go down. It's not actually because things naturally just go in this direction. It's that they're going towards the big. Anyway, I'll shut up now. I'll shut up. Okay, I'll shut up.
Here,
it's really not.
No.
Nor is his speculation, informed speculation, of course, about where the intelligence is likely coming from and how we're. I think this is the most interesting part of the interview, from my perspective, is how we're making the decisions that we're making. How are those being informed? What intelligence is informing them, and how are we gathering that intelligence? So, if anyone would know, it would be him. And CIA folks, even former CIA folks, are limited at what they can say, obviously, and are sometimes still freelancing.
Yeah, but to hear a.
She means like moving the discourse in a certain direction, right? Because either their attachment to the CIA still, or their general, opinions, right? They're not just saying things to be informative. They're saying things to move discourse in the direction that they want the discourse to move into.
A former CIA, well, no such thing as former, as they say, former CIA.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying.
Sampson option, which again,
he brought it up.
He brought it up a couple times. That's when you're watching this. If you're not familiar with that fairly common reference, it is the idea that Israel's nuclear strategy includes an option to use overwhelming nuclear force rather than lose something strategically.
And this is something that there's rumors about the Soviet Union having something called a doomsday device. This would be a automatic device that were the Soviet Union to be completely taken out, decapitated, its power structure decapitated, it would automatically fire off the rest of the USSR nukes in the United States, right? I don't know if it's true, but it's a good story, right? If you don't want the United States to do a first strike on you, it's good when the United States believes that. If you're the Soviet Union, I think the United States supposedly had something too. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell what's real and what's not, because it's a useful story for anybody that thinks they can overcome Israel in some way. You might think twice. Oh, if we overcome them, they're going to nuke us. They're going to irradiate the whole area, right? So yeah, it's just kind of yeah, it's hard. It's hard to tell. I'd like to think that any country, right, would choose not to destroy the rest of the world, even in the case when that country was just defeated, right? I would like to think that there'd be some consideration for humanity, like even from Israel. I don't know if that's true, though, right? I really don't know if that's true, especially in the case of Israel.
Even if that means the obvious kind of annihilation of Israel.
Well, let's get to it.
Well, Bob, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, because that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing is Israel's got nukes, all right? But their enemies are so close to them that it's almost not useful for them to deploy those nukes, right? It'd have to be a pretty bad situation, for Israel to want to deploy a nuke in Lebanon and Syria, in Iraq, and I don't know. There's definitely like voices in Israel that are calling to nuke Gaza or the West Bank, but obviously that would literally blow back on Israel. But yeah, they a lot of it is for this kind of thing of like the prospect of like you push Israel too hard and maybe they do use their nukes.
Oh, let's start with, from your perspective, what do you think is the thing that the U.S. and Israel, or let's go with the U.S., most misunderstood or underestimated when they went into this conflict?
I think it's the determination of the Iranians. I wrote a book about this, that if they were under attack, what they would do.
Oh my God, chat. I didn't realize how bad my voice was trashed until I put this headphone in. I'm going to be listening along with this. I got to pee again. I'll be right back. they tell me that the air quality is going to be better tomorrow. They've been saying this for a week, chat, and it never gets better. So hopefully my voice will. I don't know. I don't always sound like this. Like sound like I got a really bad cold, and it's really just congestion from all the smoke in the air. Thank you to whoever it was, anonymous, who got me the air purifier on Throne. I'm looking to get that sent to me. It's gonna be a little bit of a pain in the ass because it's one of those things that you gotta be there to pick up. It's not like Amazon where they can just like leave it somewhere. You know, I'm gonna have to do this, I think, COD because it's Lazada. So that's gonna be that's gonna be fun to try to set up. But anyway, eventually, Chad, I'll be able to breathe clean air again, and my voice won't sound like this. So thank you for sticking with me. We're at 28 out of 100, 72 points from getting some bonus content. The the stream is coming to a close here, but if somehow we can get 72 points further, I'll still stick around and do some more bonus content. Right now, it looks like Christy Gnome's husband is the contact that people want to take a look at. So I'm gonna put this back on, and I'm gonna try to pee, and I'll be right back. Yeah, this was not an easy stream.
Is bring down Gulf energy supplies, which could be up to 50% of proven reserves. Now think about that. Let's say you can take proven reserves offline for 2, 3, or 4 years. It will destroy the world's economy, as it's starting to do. And I think what they confused Tehran with Caracas. You just simply can't decapitate the Iranian regime and expect people to pour out in the streets. That's not Iran. I mean, it's so few of these people. I don't know that anybody in the administration has ever been to Iran. They don't understand who these people are. They don't understand. They're the faithful, if you like. I've spent a lot of time there, not a lot, but enough to see that, in a way, let me be politically incorrect, it's a death cult. These people, large segment, are ready to die for their beliefs. You know, you go to the martyr cemetery in Tehran, and it's genuine. And I spent a lot of time with the Basij, and that's genuine. They're going to fight. We can turn the electricity off if we like. We can destroy their desalinization facilities, all of them. We can turn the country into rubble, but they're still going to come back. And I mean, look at the numbers. You've got 93 million people. If you destroy the economy, turn it into a failed state, and you look across the Gulf at a country like Qatar, which has only got 350,000 people, who's going to defend the Arab sheikdoms? I mean, I'm not big fans of them, but who's going to defend them? Are we going to keep a fleet in the? I mean, we can't even put boats in the Gulf right now. It's too dangerous. So, but are we going to keep boats there? And then what do you do about 93 million armed, desperate people and these fragile countries around? Again, you take off 50% of the world's oil resource. Let's say a Syria-like situation where it's total chaos and mayhem. Oil is closed down. The effect it will have on the world's economy will look a lot like the Great Depression.
And Emily, I'd like to jump in 1 second. Let me just follow up on the question of the death cult. People would rephrase that as a lot of people in Iran see this as existential. Like, we are fighting them, from Tampa, from Nebraska, from aircraft carriers that are out of range. They are in their country, and they see this as an existential fight and are behaving rationally. I think death cult suggests like a level of
it's a bad word.
Yeah,
it's not. But I mean, they fought. They lost hundreds of thousands of people in the war on Iraq. They were prepared to defend their nation. They have a very strong historical sense. It's a country that goes back 4,000 years. Any number of things. And they're also looking at it is, look, they signed off on the nuclear agreement, JCPOA, and we unilaterally ripped it up. I mean, they were complying with the terms of JCPOA. The 2 times this administration has gone into negotiations with them, in the middle of it, they attack them. The intent, and I think that you see this on the far right in this country, is to destroy Iran for past wrongs. And that goes back to Lebanon, goes to Iraq, and the rest of it. But they don't see it that way. I mean, look at the attack on Ras Laffan. It followed our attack, or the Israeli attack, on South Pars. They reply in kind. It's a tit for tat, and they've always done this. And it's not a question of defending the Iranians. This is who they are. This is our enemy, and we're so bad at misunderstanding our enemy, what they'll fight for and what they won't. I mean, you go back to Vietnam. We had never understood North Vietnam. Just American history. We refuse to believe that our enemies have grievances, whether legitimate or not. And so we are fighting their grievances. But in all fairness, let's say the CIA, it doesn't have anybody that's been to Iran, understands the Iranians. Those people have all retired. They've gone away. Same way with State Department. Farsi speakers, very few of them. The Iranians we know are exiles. You can never trust exiles. As Machiavelli told us, you can't trust them. So it's a black box we're going into. And I cannot tell you right now who's going to give up first. It could be the Trump administration. It could be the Iranians. But we don't know. That's the problem. I mean, what could happen in this next week is what should really worry us.
Well, Bob, I wanted to pick up on that point because something interesting happened in the beginning of March where Lindsey Graham had made recent trips to Israel, came back, told the American press Israeli intelligence would tell him things that U.S. intelligence was not telling him, which is fascinating and suggests that some information planted to Lindsey Graham is then going into Donald Trump. So what do you believe? Who is giving Donald Trump information on Iran that is that's basically the information he's basing his own decisions off of? What do we know about that? What can we surmise about that?
Well, I think what's telling is that Trump yesterday said we don't know whether Mushtaba, the son, is alive or dead. I mean, that tells me we don't know much about the country. It's one thing for the Israelis to target Iranian nuclear scientists because they all have smartphones, they've got apps, you've got cameras in Tehran that can track people, you can track any cell phone. They do a brilliant job at it. I mean, they really do. But the assembly of experts and the people who are making the decision are offline. I've spent time at Qom. These people do not do smartphones. It's very medieval. On top of that, you have the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which has this mosaic defense. And that's command and control is not vertical. And they know what to do. And they don't need orders. They don't need communications. And they do it because they've been planning for an attack like this for a long, back to Reagan, back to the Iran-Iraq war. They've been planning for a long time. We, in the meantime, have ignored them. And the Israelis don't understand the country. I love the TV show Tehran. But trust me, they do not have Mossad officers wandering around, staff officers.
Did he say he just said these people don't have cell phones. It's very medieval. Israel's really good at exploding your, planting pagers in Lebanon that that are going to be bought by Hezbollah and then exploding them and killing a bunch of their leadership. But that I don't know. So yeah. Well, this is kind of politically correct, but it's a death cult. These people are crazy. You don't understand. We built up Saddam Hussein to do the Iraq-Iran war, which was miserable, which killed tons of people, and they didn't give up. They kept fighting. They didn't They didn't bend to our will. I'm in the CIA, right? I've seen this. It's so easy to get people, but these people, they just don't listen to reason, right? I don't know. It's kind of funny. Yeah, this guy's a piece of shit. He's also he's in. Do you see how he's reacting? His anticipated criticism for what he says is, it sounds like you're glazing Iraq. It sounds like you're a little too friendly towards Iraq. It sounds like you're seeing, looking at it from Iran's perspective, right? What are you, a traitor? So he's like, no, not to say good things about Iran, but actually, and it's like, you're on breaking points, dude. He doesn't realize he's outside of the purview of the American hegemonic realism community that can more easily imagine the end of the world than they can the end of the United States hegemonic power over the world, right? It's kind of funny. But yeah, this is the guy. He said he doesn't get up. He doesn't get up in the morning. They had to do a breaking point shoots in the early morning. So maybe that's what he meant, but it sounds like he's like, no, man, I don't get up. That's kind of like me sometimes, right? I mean, I get up, but I don't get. It's hard for me to get ready. Otherwise, the streaming would be so much easier. Chat, my, viewership, my community, the stuff I'm talking about is of interest to Americans and Europeans, and here I am streaming at Southeast Asia hours. So if I could relate to that. I can't get up. I can't get up in the morning. That's mood.
Tehran. It's too dangerous. When I was there, I had an Iranian ID card, and I was stopped. My group was stopped every 15 minutes. We were checked for our IDs. And they're very good cards too. They're not reproducible. So the Iranians, the Israelis are depending on MEK, the resistance group, the Iranians, criminals and the rest of it. But that doesn't get to the heart of the Iranian regime, which is very much less opaque to us. So if the Israelis are saying, hey, we decapitate the regime, it's a shot in the dark for them. They don't know. And
Jashinsky. I could not remember Emily's last name earlier. It's Emily Jashinsky.
The Iranians probably, Khamenei wasn't even really the Grand Ayatollah. He didn't have the chops for it. the dissertations and the rest of it. He wasn't recognized as one. He was effectively the spokesman for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Now, the people making the decisions in the mosques are, we don't know what they're up to. We just don't. When I went to Qom, I debated an Ayatollah, but I can tell you right now that I didn't walk away from that debate or from going to Qom debating other people any smarter.
Did you drop the strategic N-word in that debate, chat? Do you think that was his secret weapon, right? He's like, all right, I'm prepared to say the N-word in this debate, right? The Ayatollah is not going to expect this, right? I'm gonna drop the N-bomb here. No, it's, if you don't know, it's a reference to a streamer named Vosh who went on a Nazi debate stream called the Kill Stream many years ago, and kind of these Nazis are they're all I don't know, like he tries to say the N-word to own the Nazis, right? It was a strategic N-word, not an N-word because he's racist, right? But the N-word to show the Nazis that he's not bothered by the N-word, and that's how you own them, right? I don't know what the equivalent of the strategic N-word for a debate with an Ayatollah would be, but he said medieval because no cell phones, but they are smart because they are choosing living over jewel matching games and memes. Damn, you're right. Yeah, the strategic N-bomb, the super effect. I don't know, but Vosh never explained what, how it was supposed to be effective, but supposedly, him saying the N-word in a debate against Nazis was gonna, it's Nutella. That's right.
Of what they would do. In my limited experience in Iran tells me how little the American government knows. You just simply cannot pick this stuff up from academic.
Did he ever back down on the strategic N-word? I feel like he said something where he's like somewhere. I think he said something like, "I wouldn't do it again." I think that's the best that we've gotten from Vosh, is him saying, I wouldn't do it a second time.
Papers and the rest of it. It doesn't work that way.
So the Israelis, really have leaned into this assassination strategy. You're the perfect one to ask about that. You're the author of the Perfect Kill, which you've got in there. I think it's called 21 Rules for Assassination or something along those lines.
Perfect Kill.
When you think about those rules and your career as a CIA case officer, how do you assess the effectiveness?
So what was the story? This guy tried to kill Saddam Hussein and got in trouble with the CIA or got in trouble with the State Department? What was it? Kind
of U.S.-Israeli assassination program, whether it's Hezbollah, Hamas, or now as it's rolling out in Iran.
Well, when I wrote the book, it was like I write so much. Some of it is obvious. Had we
that's Hitler, right. Does this guy 360 no scope people?
He'd been
Minecraft
early on in the war. We would have saved a lot of bloodshed. But what we're seeing in Lebanon is the Israelis have assassinated, the leadership of Hezbollah, all of them, people I know, Mugnia, the rest of them. But now
is this guy MLG?
They're in a quagmire in southern Lebanon. Because there was a second and third tier of people that may be more effective than the people they got rid of. And they assassinated Khamenei, but we don't even know whether his son's alive. I mean, I could see the Iranians, knowing he's dead, died in that first attack, yet carrying on with this whole idea of martyrdom and spirit. So I think the proof's in the pudding in assassination in terms of Iran and his.
Okay, dude, I don't think they're being led by a ghost. Good, nice.
Is not effective.
The Israeli outcome is, if there's regime change, what we know is that they're not concerned so much about utter chaos engulfing Iran. They actually see a weak Iran as a benefit to Israel, even in the long term, from public reporting and statements and the like. What can you tell us about how
that's an okay microphone, chat? Anybody know what that is and how much it costs?
True that actually is. So if we take Israel's argument at face value, is it actually true that Israel is safer in the long term with Iran mired in chaos, or does the factionalization actually create an enormously dangerous situation, the likes of which we haven't even seen so far?
Israel lives in.
I think Israel wants. I think they'd be happy. Look, Israel would be happy with a puppet government in Iran. They're probably not going to get it. I think they'd be the second best scenario for them would be an Iran, in chaos, right? A situation where one or more minority groups rose up regionally and maintained which is a mess, chat, because the biggest group, the most obvious to do this would be the Kurds, and were the Kurds to rise up in Western Iran, the Turks would have something to say about that, right? It would make the situation more unstable.
In a bad neighborhood, and I don't think at the end of the day, chaos on your borders is going to turn out to be profitable. I mean, it was If Oslo had worked, they'd be
I mean,
better off.
and the precedent for this, right? Them possibly wanting a destabilization in Iran is Syria. They've essentially, I mean, like there is a government of former ISIS members in Syria technically, but I think it's kind of just fucked. And yeah, Israel. I get. Look, the more unstable things are, the more precedent there is for Israel to say we got to do an incursion, we got to do a little intervention, like right, and take up more, enact the Greater Israel project. If you don't know what I'm talking about, right, look on an IDF uniform sometime. You'll see a little insignia, and it shows a geographical region, and it's not Israel. It's Israel plus the West Bank and Gaza, plus the Sinai Peninsula, plus I think Egypt and part of Saudi Arabia and part of Iraq and Syria and Jordan and Lebanon, right? It's like an expanded Israel. This is what's called Greater Israel, and the reason that this is a thing. There's only 9 million people in Israel. So, as much as I will compare Israeli nationalism, Israeli fascism, if you will, to that of Nazi Germany, the comparison doesn't fit in certain places, and they don't need Lebensraum, right? But there are extreme religious elements, both of Judaism in Israel and of Christianity in the United States, that believe that either for the Messiah to come or for Jesus to return, that the Jews need to occupy like a certain geographical area. Nobody's sure what that is. So like the Mike Huckabees of the world, like when they talk to Tucker Carlson, they're they play dumb about the Greater Israel project, but they're like, yeah, that'd be okay. I wouldn't mind a bigger Israel, right? Because they're literally thinking like that you make Jesus come back by expanding Israel, or you make the Messiah come, you make the Messiah appear, and lead to right through expanding Israel. So I mean, it's pretty sick stuff, right? When you're basing your strategy and in part on biblical prophecy, yeah.
And now you are going to, once you destabilize, let's say Saudi Arabia, let's take a scenario that tomorrow we hit Karg Island. The next day, the Iranians take out Abqaiq, shut off 7 million barrels a day, take out water supplies. You're going to have an Arab world that's going to fall apart, including Jordan, on their border. Mm-hmm. And what do you do with all of these people, armed, and you're pushing into chaos? And that's not the best solution. Now, what destroyed any chance of a peace was 7 October, of course, which was horrific for the Israelis, and they are responding to it, and this administration is still responding to it. But look, Hamas is still in place in Gaza. The West Bank is not getting any better; it's getting worse, and Jerusalem is, and Israeli society is becoming less secular by the minute.
If the biggest concern for your well-being is external forces like the IDF, or if you're in Gaza, or the Israeli Air Force, if you're in Iran, and you tend to go with the hardcore militant faction, right? You tend to respond to that by like, who do I feel safe with, who do I trust? The guys with the guns, Hamas, right? And it's not just that, right? People don't realize like what has gone on in Gaza. Israel made some kind of strategic alliance with elements of ISIS. Okay, the guys that cut heads off back in the 2010s, right? ISIS, right? And had sort of been using them and criminal gangs in Gaza to terrorize people. Or to justify, more military incursions by, having them do things and then blaming it on Hamas. So, that when the people defending you against the criminal gangs and the elements of ISIS, you know, are you don't like start to question of like, hey, I'm not sure I like these guys' politics, right? I'm not sure I agree with their politics, right? It's you know, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The first need is to try to stay alive, and if these guys are fighting the guys that are trying to kill you, then you know you're gonna be positively disposed towards them.
Which isn't good for it's not good for Israelis, because a lot of Israelis are just going to pick up and leave, the ones that can. And you're going to have this very small state, which is ultimately indefensible if the population is cut way down and you have all this craziness on your borders. So, I mean, we are really into uncharted waters here. You don't take value of what Netanyahu's done. You just see what forces he's reacting to. And then you take the forces that the Iranians are reacting to, and you have two immovable forces here at loggerheads. And the entire world will pay for this. You know, I see these numbers from hedge funds in New York about what this is doing to derivatives in the petroleum market. We've yet to feel it, and there's no turning back right now. It can't be fixed. And if Iran controls Hormuz and turns it into a toll booth and keeps Arab oil from leaving or highly taxed, it's a new game.
What's your sense of, if you listen to Trump or Hegseth or Rubio now, the U.S. is just cleaning up and really showing them who's boss. What's your sense of who's winning this war strategically at this point?
I still think it's the Samson option. I think that if it continues, Iran will become a failed state. It'd be like Somalia or Syria. Whether ethnic
I'm sorry, the Samson option is an Israel thing. I don't know what he's talking. Is he saying Iran has a Samson option? For the record, chat, they don't have what is it called?
You know, civil war comes to this. I can't tell you. It's unknowable.
They don't have nukes.
So I don't think anybody's winning in this.
They might get nukes now.
The IRGC is in place. It's calling the shots. We don't know who the second tier commanders are.